What's up? What's good, everybody? It's your girl Queen T, and I'm back with another reaction video. Yes, you heard. I said I'm back with another reaction video. I'm extremely tired. I did not get no sleep last night. I did sleep, but I keep waking up for some reason. I don't know. I had music class today. It was interesting. Please do not start. Today's not the day. But anyway, before we get on to this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you hit the post notification so y'all won't miss any of my videos. I will be dropping back to back. And make sure y'all follow me on my social media so y'all can ask me questions. For when I'm doing like a Q&A, y'all can ask me questions and I will answer some of them because y'all be going overboard with them questions. So yeah. Oh, shout out to my brother, my older brother. He's the one that been editing my videos. I know it's pretty hard, well, for me, but for him, it could be easy. But shout out to him because he's the one that been really helping me editing my videos and stuff like that. And he has his own channel too, so I will put it on the description down below, and I'll put it like on the screen too, like right here in the middle. Yeah. And yeah, I really appreciate that from him because I would not want to pay somebody to edit my video. Like, come on. I hope you guys spend time with God this morning. I hope when y'all woke up, y'all pray before y'all do anything. Y'all gotta spend time with God. That's all I gotta say. And on that note, let's get on to this video. So the video I will be reacting to is I will do like 5. It's 11, but I will do 5 true scary horror story animated. So it's like basically like a scary story, but it's like animated. But I'm doing 5. It's 11. I'm doing 5. I'm too tired and I got homework to do. Let's get onto this thing. You know what I'm saying?
I woke up on the wrong side of the bed one morning to what sounded like raccoons digging through my trash can. I armed myself with a broomstick and ran outside in my pajamas, but when I got there, whatever it was had already run off. They left my trash can knocked over, with all the bags split open, and there was trash strewn all over the place. That certainly didn't put me in a good mood, but I had to pick it up as quickly as I could. I had a double shift at work that day, noon to close.
I did not eat
Had to get a
this morning,
shower
so
and everything
do not
too,
mind me.
because a Hooters girl doesn't earn tips if she smells like trash. My whole day at work was awful. We had more creeps in the restaurant than usual, which is saying something. Many hungry eyes were waiting for me. The nastiest creeps too, relentless and persistent, and most were too broke to tip me more than a few quarters. But the worst part was, Carl, the fry cook who was working the same shift as me, stared at me more than any customer, with these sad, pathetic eyes. I couldn't even catch a break in the kitchen.
It always gotta be somebody
Carl
that's
was
working
one of
with
the
you.
most
Like,
obese
damn.
men I've ever seen.
I'm thirsty, bro.
His gut was so large he struggled to reach past it to flip the patties on the griddle. He never seemed to clean his work clothes either, because there wasn't a spot left on his apron that didn't have a week's-old grease stain on it. You'd expect a guy like him to smack 3 orders of food on his lunch breaks, but he never had the time to eat at work. He was always frantically writing in his worn-out notebook during his breaks, glancing up at me whenever I was around, like he knew I was going to pass
hello?
by. He
You
never
got something to
stopped
say?
scribbling until it was time for him to go back to grilling. Slowly but surely the hours passed, and the restaurant finally closed for the night. All that was left was to clean up and lock up before leaving. Pretty soon, Carl and I were the only ones left. I thoroughly mopped the restaurant floor to avoid him
Why
as
the
he
mop
cleaned the
moving like
kitchen.
that?
The last place left was the men's bathroom. I always save it for last.
Oh my
It's
God.
kind of a vile place. I took a deep breath before entering the stench within and started mopping underneath the urinals.
I swear they intentionally piss on the floor.
Just to add on to the terrible day I was having, I started hearing suspicious noises again, rustling from the handicapped stall, like someone was scraping their feet on the floor. I shoved the mop into the bucket and yelled
Wrap it up, time to go.
Is someone still in here? We're closed.
No answer. I walked up to the handicap stall and tried to look inside, but the door was locked.
I would have been.
Whoever's in there,
at the
you
door.
have to leave. We're closed for the night.
I started banging on the door, letting out all the frustrations of the day. I gave up not very long after. I was getting tired of this. Then, I heard footsteps from the other side and saw a pair of muddy shoes beneath the door. I jolted back right as the door flew open, revealing a man who looked like he'd lived in a swamp his whole life and had starved for most of it. I recognized him as a customer from earlier in the day. "It's nice to see you're in such a rush to see me again, baby doll, but you don't have to worry. We're alone now. We've got lots of time." I grabbed the mop for a lack of a better weapon of defense, waving the dripping mess of tangled, filth-soaked cloth in his face.
Forget all that. We're closed. Get out of here.
That's not gonna stop me, sweetheart. He grabbed the head of the mop and yanked it out of my hands in a flash. "I'm not leaving here without you by my side. Why don't you come over to my place for the night?"
Beat it, creep.
"Oh,
Beat
you've
it,
got
creep.
attitude, don't you? Don't worry, I'll take care of that." I made a break for the door, but he lunged at me and grabbed my arm. I screamed.
Carl!
We struggled
Bite that
for a
nigga in the
moment before the
arm.
fry cook
I
finally
would bite
rushed
that
into
nigga
the
in the arm.
bathroom. I'd never been so glad to see him in my life. Carl took the creep by the shoulders and ripped him away from me like a rag doll. Carl slammed the creep against the wall and pinned him up. "What's going on here?"
He's a creep, Carl. Throw him out already.
"It's just a misunderstanding, sir." Carl stared him down for an uncomfortable length of time. Then he whispered something in the creep's ear that I couldn't make out. The creep nodded readily. Then Carl set him down. Immediately, it seemed like all the tension had been diffused. The creep smiled non-offensively, then calmly walked out and left the store.
Oh my gosh.
How did you do that without roughing him up?
Nigga, F
Carl
that.
grinned
What
from
did you
ear to
whisper to
ear
his
like a
ear?
big goose.
That's what I would ask.
I just told him what would happen.
Well, thank you very much, Carl.
Fine.
I appreciate it.
Cat!
You're always
Stop the
welcome,
cat!
Selena. I picked up the mop again, wanting to just finish closing so I could finally go home. But Carl lingered. "Hey, since I saved you and all, do you think you'd like to go out on a date with me?"
Not the time, Carl. Not the time.
"That's okay. I'll find a good time." Then he left,
I meant to say, I'll find a
thankfully,
good time.
and I got back to mopping. When I finally got home that night, I was utterly exhausted. I was seriously thinking of quitting Hooters. The meager tips didn't make up for all the interactions with sickos and freaks, and they were starting to make me paranoid. I changed back into my pajamas, made some hot chocolate, and got comfortable on the couch to binge watch my favorite show, all in an effort to just calm down and unwind from the events of the day. Too bad I didn't have any roommates I could vent to. It wasn't long before my moment of peace was ruined. I heard something rummaging through my trash can again. I didn't bother getting anything to chase them off this time. I figured my screams of rage would be enough to scare anything away. But when I opened my door, it wasn't a raccoon. It was the same creep from before, holding my trash can over his head and dumping everything onto the ground. When he saw me, he threw the empty can at me. I stumbled back through the doorway in a daze.
What the?
I told you, didn't I? You should have gone home with me, and none of this would have happened. He stepped into my home undaunted. He laughed maniacally and inched his way closer to me. My mind
Bitch, close the
raced.
door!
What should I
Oh.
do? Should I get a knife? Should I scream? I tripped and fell to the ground, crawling backwards towards the kitchen where I could maybe get a proper weapon to defend myself. But then, another silhouette appeared behind the creep, swallowing him in the shadows, then socked him in the back of the skull. The creep clambered forward and looked back in shock. "Why'd you... This wasn't part of the deal!" I then realized who it was.
Ew.
It was Carl. He approached the creep without a word and grabbed him by the neck. Carl relentlessly pummeled the creep with his fists. There was no contest. Carl was a super heavyweight in a no-holds-barred cage match with a featherweight stickman. I watched in absolute shock as Carl let
Oh,
loose
why are you
until
still going on the
he was
floor?
completely limp. Carl then finally let him go, and just by the sound of the body made as it collided with the floor,
He did.
I knew that Carl had beaten him to death. Carl then turned to me, his face half lit by the street light shining through the wide open door. Will you go on a date with me now?
What? No! Carl! What have you done?
I climbed to my feet, ready to outrun him if I needed to.
She gonna die.
What have I done? Really, I saved you twice. Is that not good enough for you? I know everything about you. What do you know about me? He said this while grabbing his notebook out from his pocket. He darted it to me while waiting for a response. I didn't take my eyes off Carl when I reached down slowly for the notebook. Suddenly, I realized why he was always writing in it. He was writing about me. He recorded my every movement, my habits, everyone I talked to. Did he really tell that guy to show up just so he could act like my knight? You better understand. I'm not leaving here without you by my side.
That's the exact thing the dude said. Alright, so hold on. Let's pause this. Let's pause this, bro. Yo, what the hell?
Never in 1,000 years did I ever expect to experience such a disturbing encounter during a date. A date that I'm now reminded of every time I stare at my reflection. The scars that remain on my face only reflect my scars from the outside, but don't project the scars from the inside. The brutality in the hands of this certain individual left me
That is some
seeking
weird-ass
professional
milk.
counseling. I find it difficult to erase the image of the individual's face from my memory, as it still sends shockwaves through my anatomy. Maybe sharing my story with the world will help close this horrific chapter of my life. It all started a couple years ago, when the dating app Tinder first launched. I remember seeing all of my friends download the app as it was the new trend when it came to online dating. I've used other dating apps in the past,
Online
but
dating.
never really got too far in the dating scene besides a nice meeting you text or a $100 bill after a lunch date. There was this one occasion when I got home from a long day of school. I remember
apps,
face
bro.
planting on my bed the moment I stepped foot inside my room.
The
I had
dating
just
apps.
finished midterms and
It's
felt
not
the
it.
sudden urge to blow off some steam and perhaps go out later that night. I grabbed my cell phone and began messaging my friends in our group chat saying, "Yo, anyone down to chill later?" A couple of minutes go by and I get a few replies saying something to the effect of, "Not today with girlfriend," or "Got a Tinder date tonight." This was incredibly frustrating, as I felt like I was slowly becoming the one single friend in my entire friend group. I felt like my social skills and dating life were slowly diminishing the longer I stayed home and didn't go out. That's when I decided to log onto my desktop computer and create a new Tinder profile.
Oh,
After a couple of minutes of typing out a witty personal bio, I started uploading old photos to my profile. I made sure to also download the app on my phone while making myself comfortable on my living room couch. I remember swiping through the app for a few minutes and seeing dozens of attractive females. Due to my previous encounters regarding dating apps, I knew not to trust the pictures within the girls' profiles, as some of them could turn out to be catfishes more often than not. During the latter part of my evening, I was waiting patiently to match with any girls on Tinder. My dad always told me to shoot my shot with as many girls as possible. That way the probability of hooking up with one would be higher than the average guy. I recall swiping right and liking at least 100 girls' profiles on Tinder. Out of the hundreds of girls, I surprisingly got no matches back. I couldn't help but feel my self-esteem gradually deplete. I didn't want to sour the rest of my day, so I decided to put my phone down and watch some TV for the remainder of the evening. My anxiety began playing tricks on me as I truly convinced myself that I was going to be single forever. The room suddenly became silent despite the television still remaining on. My eyes started getting heavy the longer I stared at the TV. I began picking at the armrest of my sofa while trying to blow off some steam. Feelings of anxiety weighed heavy on my shoulders. Am I really gonna die single? Does anyone want to be with me? That's when I hear a notification sound coming from my phone. I grabbed my phone and noticed it was a match from someone on Tinder. As I opened up the app, I noticed a female of Asian descent.
Please, I'm doing
She
a video.
didn't have
Come
many
on.
pictures on her profile, just one picture with the name Tina. From
Sit.
the looks of it, she seemed fairly attractive and was roughly around the same age group as I was. The bio on her profile was
Bruh,
straight
that
to
girl
the
look
point.
look
I
exactly like
remember
him.
it saying something along the
they
lines
just right, put a
of,
makeup.
"The hotter twin sister, you should date me." I found the description rather odd,
exactly
but
like
brushed
him.
it off as I just wanted to get some action that night. That's when she sent a direct message to me. I opened up the message, which read,
I'd love to talk in person if you're free.
with a smiley emoji. I was surprised at how forward she was. Her location said she lived about 15 kilometers away, which translated to about a 10-minute drive from my house, give or take. I figured meeting up with this girl wouldn't be much of an inconvenience considering how close she was. I sent a message asking for her contact information. She then responds with her fully disclosed address and phone number. Again, I was taken aback by how forward she was with her contact details.
Lay down.
I began speculating if she was a catfish or not. Nonetheless, I brushed the notion under the rug and decided to respond back with, "Cool, be there in an hour." As I made my way to the washroom for a quick shower, my entire body began feeling antsy. I couldn't help but feel genuinely excited as if I was going on a first date again. That's when I hear another notification sound coming from my phone. I checked my phone and saw another match coming from Tinder. Could this be my lucky day? I wondered. I clicked on the profile and noticed it was Tina, except the name on the profile said Lena. As I read her bio, I could see it was similar to Tina's profile saying, "The hotter twin sister, you should date me." The distance next to her name was also 15 kilometers.
Get out
Could
of
it
it.
be? This has to be the twin she was talking about. Speculations began running through my head. I made the assumption that Tina and Lena were both
Sit.
twin sisters, considering the
Sit down.
identical similarities in names, appearance, and location. It seemed like the pair had a pretty petty relationship with one another based on the way they were outing each other on their bios. She then messages me as well saying,
Don't date my sister Tina, date me instead.
I couldn't help but feel amused at the notion that I literally had twin sisters fighting over me that I hadn't even met yet. Not really considering if this was a good idea or not, I decided to entertain it by saying, "How about we all go on a triple date?" Lena then responds with,
Fine, but you better like me more.
my mind was
You
racing.
better like me more.
I couldn't believe I was going to potentially hook up with two attractive-looking twins. Something on every guy's bucket list. That being said, I grabbed my car keys and made my way inside my vehicle. I punched in the address on Google Maps and started driving towards the destination. About 10 to 15
crazy.
minutes later, I arrived there and saw a fairly small house surrounded by a lot of trees. The house honestly looked like a shack that you would put storage in. I casually make my way onto the porch and began knocking on the door. I remember hearing faint noises of heavy footsteps making their way towards my direction. As I heard the door locks beginning to open, I popped a breath mint in my mouth to give a good impression. The door began to creak open, and there stood a girl with two heads attached to her body. If I recall the politically correct term, they were conjoined twins. The girl on the right then introduced herself saying,
I'm Tina, also known as the hotter twin, and here is my uglier half, Lena.
Speak for yourself. Anyway, I'm Lena. You must be Jeff, right?
Yeah.
Come inside so we can get this party started.
I honestly contemplated on booking it, as it was clear as day that I'd been catfished, but I decided to take the high road and continue with the date, so I said, sure, ladies. As I made my way inside, I couldn't help but notice how well kept the place was. There were even 3 plates of steak preps sitting on the dining room table. I felt a little relieved I didn't split the scene, as I would have lived to regret leaving the twins high and dry despite all their efforts. We all began to walk towards the table. I sat on one side while the twins sat across from me. An awkward essence filled the room as I couldn't believe who I was currently on a date with. If I had to be honest, I couldn't muster up an appetite despite how delicious the meal looked. Tina held the steak with a fork in place while Lena began slicing it into bite-sized pieces. I sat there watching with my jaw hanging from my face as the twins started feeding themselves with their respective hands. I genuinely don't mean to be rude, but it was the most bizarre thing to watch considering it wasn't expected. Tina then says,
Why aren't you eating your steak, Jeff? I worked on it all day.
Leave him alone. He doesn't want to eat your shitty cooking.
I didn't ask you, idiot.
I wish we were separated. I can't stand you.
Psh, at least I don't have to share the same brain as you.
Girls, please stop fighting. I'm just a little full from the food I had earlier.
Who do you think's hotter? Me or her?
Oh, if a
I'm
girl
not
asks
here
you,
to pick
if a girl
favorites,
asks a
Tina.
boy that,
He obviously likes me more.
There's a reason why I was born on the right side. Because I'm Mrs. Right.
Condescending bitch.
Girls, if you don't stop, I'm leaving! The tension in the room got very uncomfortable. Both twins began to mean mug me while holding a knife in one hand and a fork in the other. I could hear nothing but pin drops
but
as the
eat
room
him up.
suddenly became silent. Tina then slams her clenched fist on the table while holding the fork in her palm, saying,
You're not going anywhere, Jeff.
What are you talking about? The twins then got up from their chair and began approaching my direction. I began leaning back the closer they got to me. Ladies, can you please put the knife and fork down? As I looked into their eyes, I could see them both filled with rage, while Lena's had a hint of concern within them. Tina then abruptly takes a swipe across my face with the fork in her hand. Ow! What the hell is your problem? Get the hell away from me or I'm calling the cops! I sat in my seat flabbergasted while trying to subdue the blood dripping down my face. Lena then says,
Why did you do that? If you go to jail, they're gonna put me in there with you, you idiot!
Good. Not only will we be close physically, but we'll also be close emotionally.
Lena then begins stabbing Tina across her face and neck repeatedly. I sat there in disbelief while being showered in their blood. As Lena continuously stabbed Tina, I saw her eyes beginning to slowly roll in the back of her head as the pair abruptly collapsed on the floor.
what did I just watch? What the heck? I will never fight over a boy. Never. Oh my gosh, bro. But anyway, I'm gonna stop it right here. I know in the beginning I said I would do 5 scary story, but the number 1 and number 2 is pretty long. The number 1 and number 2 story is pretty long, so I'm just gonna end it right here, and I might pick it up next time, you know, or like do another scary video, so you never know. That's all for the reaction video today. Make sure you stay tuned for my next video. The next video, it might be a challenge or it might be a vlog, so y'all gotta stay tuned, you know, y'all gotta stay tuned. And if y'all want me to react to a a video or something, make sure y'all send it to me. But yeah, and make sure y'all go follow my brother channel. Show him some love the way y'all showing me love. And on that note, I'm out. Peace.